What is up, people? We are back. Amongst the games I play on a sporadic basis is StarCraft 2, which I have played since day one of its release. And, you know, it's been on my hit list lately, and I've found myself in a position where I'm teaching a lot of people how to play the game who have absolutely no idea how to play the game. And, I record YouTube videos, as you might be aware, and so, to record a video game, I have to play a video game. So since I'm going to be playing the video game to teach them anyway, why not kill two birds with one stone and record what I do? So, one thing I was teaching someone who's playing Protoss, and again, this is going to be geared toward lower end players. Most people above gold or even above silver probably will already know this, but maybe you don't. But this is more geared toward a lower league of players who are struggling to make their way up. So anyway, I was teaching someone who's trying to learn Protoss. And, they've been learning the regular builds, and they also learned the Cannon Rush build, because every Protoss at least knows how to do it to some extent. And they asked me, they said, how would a Cannon Rush work against the Zerg? Because the Zerg have creep, so you can't build on their territory, and, they can get up spine crawlers pretty easily. And, between that and whatever else, the Cannon Rush really won't do anything to them. And I've seen that happen a lot in the lower leagues of play. A lot of Protoss who want to do something cheesy don't really know that you can Cannon Rush the Zerg. It's not at all difficult. They just have the wrong mentality about it. And actually, when you do a, quote, Cannon Rush against the Zerg, it's not even an all-in cheesy tactic. It's actually something that can be very effective and very easy to recover from. And I'm going to explain that today. And I, right now, will stay straight out. I don't claim to be very good at this game. I'm not terrible, but I'm not like pro stream level. But that's why we're only going over something basic. I'm not trying to teach, a diamond or master player how to do something. If they don't know it and then they figure out, oh, hey, that's a smart idea, then that's great. But, I'm aiming for a lower tier of players just to give a useful tidbit of information. So I've prepared 3 games. They're all very quick, and it's just single player, me just kind of showing the timings of certain things you should know about to prove my point here and how the Cannon Rush can work. Timings just being when can a certain race feasibly do something. Because if you know the timings, you know the earliest they're able to do something, and you're going to be able to know, okay, if I do this before a certain point, I'll be all set. It'll be great, grand, and wonderful. So the first timing we're going to look at is the Hatchery first Zerg timing. Now, most Zerg will either go Hatchery first, they'll go spawning pool, then their Hatchery, or they'll do some type of cheesy thing. A lot of times, Zerg, as you get higher up, don't stick to one base for more than 30 seconds, unless they intend to just kind of all in you. So, noting this, we're going to look at what's the earliest they can get a Hatchery. Because obviously, if they go Hatchery first, they're going to be able to get their Hatchery faster than if they got their spawning pool, then their Hatchery. So what's the earliest they can get a Hatchery? That's the question we need to ask. And we're basically looking at a standard, or I did a standard Hatchery first thing. You get 14, 15 drones, then you build your Hatchery. Now, like I said, I'm not great at this game. Zerg's actually probably one of my worst races, so the timing I give is not going to be straight on par, but if you deduct 5 to 15 seconds from whatever time I give, you'll probably have the fastest actual Hatchery. So we get to 14 drones, we're going up to 15, and then we're going to look towards our expansion. And my drone doesn't get down there right when we hit 300, which is going to be very soon here. So if they do everything right, they hit 300 about right now, around the 2-minute, 15-second mark. And, obviously if this is geared toward lower league players, they're not going to be right on that time. But I get it around 2:23, so say between 2:10 and 2:15, they're able to get their Hatchery. This is the earliest they're going to get a Hatchery out. Because if you're playing in the Bronze League, Silver League, they're lucky if they're this fast, if they've got everything down pat. And like I said, if they go spawning pool first, this hatchery is going to be even later. So, noting that the hatchery goes down around 2 minutes 10 seconds, 2 minutes 15 seconds, we can start to look at where a cannon rush would be useful. Now, I want to note it's going to take a while for this creep to spread all around the natural. I just want to make sure you note that it takes a little bit for the creep to start spreading behind the mineral line over here, and the cannon rush will not be focused here. The cannon rush is going to be focused on this natural, because as I get into my next game to load the next timing, most Zerg have to play off two bases. That's just what they've learned to do, because it's easier for them to keep up with the Protoss and the Terrans by doing that, and they have a really cheap hatchery. So unless they're going all in, they really wouldn't do that. So now we're going to look at it from a Protoss point of view. Say I'm the Protoss, which I am in this game, and I'm going to be doing a standard type of build, which most Protoss, when they're going against Zerg, have one of two main builds, unless they're doing something all in. They'll go Nexus first, or they're going to do a Forge, and then expand behind the Forge. So we're going to look at the Forge first version, because if I was playing Protoss, that's the one I normally do. So, probe comes down, we get the pylon at about 50 seconds, and we're going to head down to Scout, because we want to make sure they're not doing anything cheesy. And then at this point, we're just going to kind of focus on getting our workers up. Around 13 or 14, we're going to get our Forge. So, obviously, like I said, my timings will be off, but I'm going to give you the closest to legitimate timing I can. So we get our 12 workers. This is going to be the 12th. We're going to have the 13th and 14th come up. And at that point, I'm going to send a probe down here, and I'm going to build the Forge. Now, you can do a 13 Forge. I'm doing a 14 Forge. But with 14 and a Forge, you can get down the Forge at around 1 minute 50, 154. So, negate the fact that I missed that. Say you can probably get your Forge around 145, because I'm not that great. So say you can probably shave 4 to 9 seconds off of this. So we'll call it at 1 minute and 45 seconds. If you do a 13 or 14 Forge, you can get your Forge down. Now obviously I'm pretty behind here because I had to have the probe walk down. But so say it's 15 seconds. Now, I also want to know when the probe actually gets here. He's here at 155. We're going to look right to here. So our probe is going to get into their base around 1 minute and 30 or 1 minute 40 seconds. At 35, we come out the ramp, and at about 140, we're going to be able to see everything. If I'd actually moved the probe over here, we would have seen all their workers, any buildings, and their base. Now, obviously, like we said, the hatchery can't go down till about 2:15, so they're not going to have that yet. But we're going to be able to see if they're cheesing. So what we're going to do, and I will note that when I made this replay, I did fuck up terribly, because rather than putting the cannons at the natural like I'm supposed to do, I put them behind the main base, which is really stupid of me when I'm trying to make a replay. But just note that everything I do back here, I'm supposed to be doing back here, because I don't really want to re-record it. And the fact of the matter is, I could walk right down here and do the same thing. So anyway, we got to wait for the Forge to come down. Like we said, in our game, it comes down at about 2:05, and in a legitimate game, you could probably get down 20 seconds earlier. So we can deduct about 20 seconds off of everything we do here. So, assuming this is the natural, which it's not, assume we're doing this down here. Our first pylon comes down at 2:20, which, negating the fact that we kind of slugged up here, is around 2 minutes. We'll say 2 minutes we got our pylon down, so they still probably haven't expanded yet. We could build the pylon right on their natural and prevent them from expanding, period. But that's only if we beat them to building the hatchery. If we know they're going to go for the hatchery, we can put the pylon right on their expansion. Otherwise, you can put it back here. So we have the pylon down, we're waiting for the Forge to finish, and the first cannon goes down at 2:51. Now, we deduct 20 seconds off of that, and that's, say, about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So at around 2:30, you can get the first cannon building. Now remember that the hatchery goes down 15 seconds prior to this. So the hatchery is just there. The creep hasn't spread yet. And if they go hatchery first, that means they haven't built their spawning pool. At this point, they probably are just about getting the resources to build the spawning pool. So that means for them to counteract this, they need to wait for the spawning pool to build, and then they need to build Zerglings. So that's a pain in the balls. If they go spawning pool first, then their hatchery may not even be here yet. Their hatchery may still be kind of coming down, and then say they see the hatchery, say they see the cannon now, then they have to pump out Zerglings, and we're already getting a second cannon. And you know, the likelihood is there's a couple things that are going to happen here. They're either going to send down a bunch of drones, they're going to overreact and build a shitload of Zerglings, or they're just going to GG and get out. Now, either way, it puts you at an extreme advantage. Now, first photon cannon is done at 3:32. We deduct 20 seconds, say that's about 3:15. So at 3:15, about a minute after the earliest hatchery comes down, we have our photon cannon. Now, they could have Zerglings, they could have a couple things, and like I said, they're going to do a couple of things. If, like I said, this is geared toward Bronze League players, so they're either going to quit right away because they can't get their expansion, or they're going to overreact by building a shitload of Zerglings. And what's going to happen is, they're going to build those Zerglings, they're going to waste a ton of minerals and supply to try to stop this. And that's not only going to delay their expansion, but that's going to give them a bunch of useless units, because while they're attacking this, you're just going to wall off. You're going to build your gateway, your nexus, your cannon, you're going to build a cyber core, maybe another pylon or two if you need to finish the wall off. And then they have all these Zerglings that they're going to throw at your base because they're angry and they're behind, and you're just going to shut it down. And at that point, you're going to have an expansion, they're going to be just starting theirs, and you're going to be in a significant advantage point. Now, the smart player will get some drones, they'll remain calm, and they'll send their drones down here to try to shut this down before it becomes a real problem. Not a lot of people in Bronze and Silver, and even some Gold League people won't do that. They'll just freak out and overreact and get out of the game. So, you don't want to go, like I said, this isn't supposed to be an all-in thing. You don't want to get any heavier duty than this. You can build a couple more cannons if you really want to, but you don't want to lock it down like this. You don't want to go all in, because like people say, their main base is covered in creep. So you're not going to be able to pull this off and continue up into their main base. But this will delay their expansion. They're either going to try to get rid of this first, or if they're smart, they're going to just expand to their third and deal with that when they have the units. But like I said, the odds, most Bronze or Silver League players won't know what to do. They'll overreact and they'll just GG. So yes, you're investing about 400 minerals here, or probably closer to 500 or 600. But you're going to end up with the economic lead by doing this. So that's where the Cannon Rush is really effective against the Zerg. Now, last thing we got to look at is, well, what if they 6-pool? What if they are cheesing? We're not going to have time to go for this and then put up a defense. And that's where you're wrong. And this is why Forge Fast Expand is one of my favorite things to do against the Zerg, because it's both. This is the wrong replay. Or no, it's not. That's why it's one of my favorite things to do against the Zerg, is because it can be used both offensively and defensively. So this is going to be an example. I'm going to be doing a standard 6-pool. I'm going to build my one drone, and then I'm just going to let them harvest until we can get a spawning pool. Now again, I mean, I don't know. A 6-pool is pretty hard to not do with all the timing, right? So I'm going to say that most of my timing is pretty on par. But just in case, so at about 200 minerals, right there, which is at 49 seconds, I put it down to 50 seconds. So at about 50 seconds, the spawning pool goes down. And now we're just waiting. Our Overlord's going across the map. You're playing the Proto, so your probe, you've built your pylon, and you're heading up here. So you know, your Forge won't go down till 150 about. But so, you know, you're just sending your probe out right now. You're building your probes. You're probably at around 12. You're getting your 13th probe out, and now you're coming up the ramp. You're heading toward the back. In around 1 minute and 40 seconds, you're gonna see everything here. And this is obviously a huge indicator that there's a 6-pool coming. The spawning pool is really far along. It's already almost done at 140. And the biggest indicator is that there's 6 or 7 drones. At this point, you should be at around 13, 14 drones. And even if they went spawning pool, their spawning pool wouldn't have started quite yet. They'd have a lot more drones. So if you see this many drones, you know shit's about to go down. Especially with a spawning pool this close. So immediately at this point, you say, oh shit, you'll probably slow down pro production, and you'll immediately start finishing this wall off. So at this point, you're going to get your forge down a lot earlier. Your forge is probably going to come down. Your forge is probably going to come down immediately after you see this. So, you know, you're going to have your forge down. And then the rest of your minerals are going to go towards finishing this wall off. Now, I want to make a note that at about 3 minutes, around 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 30 seconds, we had, well, what was it? It was like 2:30, our first cannon went down. And at around 3 minutes, we had 2 cannons and a pylon. So like I said, you invest about 500, 600 minerals in that cannon attack at their natural. Those 500 and 600 minerals are now going to be dedicated to your defense. So by the time, right now you would have had a pylon and a cannon. That's 250 minerals that can make a gateway and another pylon to wall off. We also end up getting out another cannon. That cannon can be used as defense. And you can force out another building to finish the wall off pretty easily if you've cut pro production. Now let's note that you would have all these buildings building right now. Your wall would be here, and the Zerglings are just arriving now. They're going to hit your wall at about this time, 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So you're going to have that 500 to 600 minerals you were going to cannon rush with, and you're going to do something here. You're going to go, 2 gateways, a cannon, and a pylon, and pretty much wall this off entirely. You're going to easily be able to wall this off in time for the Zergling rush. If there's a space, you can put a probe in it to hold it off. But you're going to have this wall off, you're going to have cannons up, and you're going to obliterate this little 6 pool. And what does that mean? Yeah, you had to invest some money in a wall off, but now you can expand, because you still probably have 14 workers. They have 7. You have double their economy. They're going to have to do a lot to catch up in order to get their expansion and continue on. A lot of people, if their 6 pool doesn't work, they just kind of GG and that's it. So that's where, and that's, like I said, playing Protoss a lot, I do the Forge Fast Expand because it can be, most people only think of the defensive application, but there is also a very offensive application when it comes to destroying their natural. So both of those are things that when you're playing Protoss against Zerg are very good to know if you know what you're doing. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. Again, please like and subscribe for more content. Leave comments with additional tips for the players. A lot of you who might watch this are probably higher up there, and you probably already know this, but like I said, this is for lower tier players. So if you have any additional tips to add to their repertoire, let me know, or comment and leave that. Don't, as long as you make it nice and kind and polite and all that good stuff. And I will see you guys in my next video. Let me know what you think of the really low-key StarCraft stuff.